With little time before Diddy's high-profile federal trial, one of his top attorneys abruptly walked away from the case. His entire legal situation is spiraling and fast. The resignation landed like a bombshell, shaking the core of a defense team that was already stretched thin. This kind of vague exit from such a sensitive public case speaks volumes. Y'all, there's a lot of horrifying drama to unpack here, so let's get right into it. Anthony Rico, a seasoned federal attorney with decades of experience defending major criminal cases, filed a motion to step away from Diddy's legal team. His language was careful, but firm. He stated that while he had provided the legal defense required by the court, he could no longer serve as counsel to Diddy under any circumstance. He cited attorney-client privilege, which blocks him from sharing details, but the timing alone raises concerns. When a lawyer with his level of experience exits a case like this, it often means there are deeper conflicts or revelations behind the scenes.
This is a serious proceeding with serious consequences, and all of us are addressing it accordingly.
Rico isn't just any defense attorney. He's represented clients in some of the most intense federal prosecutions, including terrorism, racketeering, and conspiracy cases. His exit signals that Diddy's case may have reached a level of complexity or controversy that even a veteran like Rico wants no part of.
Nobody's okay with staying in jail for now.
Customarily, the court still needs to approve Rico's motion to withdraw. However, the government is not opposing it, and Rico confirmed that he discussed the decision with lead attorney Mark Agnifilo. Legal experts believe the motion will be approved without issue, but the optics, they are already causing damage. In federal court, consistency and confidence matter. When someone in Rico's position walks away, it shakes the entire perception of the defense's unity and strength. With Rico gone, Diddy's legal team is now down to 5 attorneys: Agnifilo, Tenny Gallegos, Alexander Shapiro, Jason Driscoll, and Anna Estival. Interestingly, this might not be the worst thing for Diddy. Having a smaller team in court could work in his favor. If he walked into trial surrounded by 6 lawyers and their staff, it might look like he's trying to overpower the system with money and influence. That kind of display doesn't sit well with juries, especially now, when there's growing skepticism about how billionaires use their power to dodge accountability. In today's climate, where the public is fed up with wealthy figures escaping consequences, Diddy showing up with a legal army could backfire. With fewer attorneys, the optics shift. He may appear more grounded, more vulnerable, and less like someone trying to buy his way out. Though the remaining lawyers are masterful, Rico brought unique experience and weight to the team. His loss will likely affect both internal coordination and trial strategy. But while the defense team is thinning out, the federal government is ramping up. A new superseding indictment has been filed, and it changes everything. This latest version doesn't just focus on Diddy, it expands the scope to include co-conspirators. Unfortunately, names weren't explicitly stated, but the descriptions were detailed enough for people to start connecting the dots. If these individuals are indeed who many believe them to be, Diddy's closest allies are now being described as players in a larger criminal enterprise. According to the documents, there is a bodyguard who regularly traveled with Diddy and allegedly used physical intimidation and threats to maintain control. This individual is accused of restraining victims and assisting in abuse. Observers believe this could point to one of Diddy's former security team members, possibly Gandil, who served in earlier years. Another possibility is Roger Bonds, who has recently expressed support for Cassie and seems willing to speak out about what he witnessed. That's just one role. Another figure in the indictment is an executive assistant who allegedly handled all the logistics for Diddy's operations. This includes booking travel for women, arranging hotels, and coordinating private events under the appearance of business meetings. And that's not all. Prosecutors say this person played a central role in making the alleged trafficking operations appear legitimate. If they've flipped, they may be handing over documentation, texts, emails, calendars that could reveal the scope and planning behind the scenes. Then there's the music industry facilitator. According to the filings, this person gave credibility to Diddy's meetings with women by making them seem like career opportunities. They introduced potential victims to Diddy, co-signed the meetings, and made everything feel safe and professional. That behavior fits the textbook definition of grooming. Whoever this person is, their involvement connects the dots between Diddy's industry influence and the accusations being made. There's also mention of a financial intermediary, someone who allegedly helped process hush money, structure off-the-books payments, and clean up transactions tied to illegal activities. If this person turns over evidence, it could expose a financial web that ties back to trafficking, coercion, and cover-ups. The government reportedly already has some proof of money being used to silence people, and they are pushing hard to trace where that money came from and who helped move it around. Another bombshell in the indictment: media and PR insiders may have been involved in suppressing stories, hiding NDAs, and helping prevent leaks to the press. One PR associate reportedly quit early in the investigation, well before the full weight of the case became clear. At the time, the move seemed unrelated. Now, many believe that person had insight into what was coming and got out before the pressure intensified. Legal language in the court documents suggests suggests some of these insiders are cooperating. The phrase known to the grand jury is key. That usually means prosecutors have already secured testimony or are preparing to use those individuals as witnesses. Another important phrase is at the direction of Diddy, which signals that their actions were not random. They were part of a structure. While the indictment builds, Diddy's remaining legal team is trying to chip away at the charges. They recently filed a motion to dismiss count 3, transportation for prostitution, on the grounds that the law it's based on, the Mann Act, has a discriminatory history. The defense argues the law is rarely used against white individuals and is being unfairly applied in this case. They claim Diddy's actions were private, consensual, and not criminal. They say he was involved with adult escorts and what took place was not trafficking, but consensual relationships between adults. However, the prosecution is not buying it. They say this wasn't about consent, it was about manipulation and coercion. They argue that unwilling people were pressured into situations, and that Diddy created an environment where refusal wasn't an option. Diddy maintains his innocence and has pleaded not guilty to all charges. His lawyers continue to frame the accusations as exaggerated, suggesting that regret or bitterness is fueling the allegations. They say the stories being told are based on misinterpretations of adult relationships and personal lifestyle choices. But federal prosecutors aren't just relying on victim testimony. They are gathering financial evidence, documents, videos, and internal communications to back their claims. They are also preparing to bring in major witnesses, including Cassie Ventura, who is expected to play a pivotal role in the trial. Cassie's earlier civil suit may have been settled, but her allegations remain central to the federal case. Cassie is reportedly pregnant, which adds another layer to the trial. If she testifies in that condition, the jury may view her with added sympathy. Legal experts believe this is why Diddy's team will likely have a female attorney handle her cross-examination. The goal is to avoid appearing harsh or insensitive, which could backfire with jurors. The prosecution is also reportedly narrowing down a group of 3 to 10 witnesses who can speak to the alleged abuse and misconduct. They don't plan to flood the court with dozens of stories. Instead, they're selecting the strongest, most credible voices to share first-hand accounts that align with the evidence. One important thing to understand is that this trial is no longer just about one person. It's about the network, the enablers, the insiders who helped carry out or cover up what's being described in the indictments. Prosecutors are building a case that paints Diddy not just as someone who committed crimes, but as someone who orchestrated and protected a system. While some civil cases are falling off, including the dismissed lawsuit involving a 13-year-old, many more are still active. Diddy is currently facing multiple civil suits, all of which carry their own risks, damages, and public consequences. The federal case is different though. This is criminal court. If Diddy is convicted, he could face 15 years to life in prison. That's not speculation, that's the range outlined in the charges. And with the trial scheduled for May 5th, the timeline is moving fast. What makes this moment even more intense is the silence coming from Diddy's inner circle. People who once vouched for him are going quiet. Others are disappearing entirely. Some are showing signs of cooperating. When a circle that tight begins to crack, it rarely holds together long. Once one person flips, more tend to follow. Prosecutors know this, and they are applying pressure at every level. There are even quiet rumors, like plea deal discussions could be on the table. While nothing official has been filed, some insiders believe Diddy may take a deal to avoid the risk of a public conviction and a life sentence. Whether that happens remains to be seen, but with his legal team weakening and his allies turning away, his options are shrinking. Online, people are already reading between the lines. Comments like, "He knows he's guilty," are gaining traction, with many pointing to Rico's quiet exit as an indirect confession of just how serious the case has become. Another comment making rounds says, "When a guy who gladly goes to bat for murderers and monsters quits your case, you're cooked. Even he has a conscience and doesn't want any baby oil on his hands," referencing Rico's history of defending clients in extreme criminal cases, yet stepping away from this one. To many, that speaks louder than any legal statement could. As May approaches, one thing is clear. This case is reaching a breaking point. Hit that like button and stay tuned for more updates as Diddy's trial draws closer. This is only the beginning of what could be one of the biggest trials in entertainment history.